So, today, in this video at least, we're talking about James Buchanan. He was the 15th President of the United States. Occasionally, or commonly considered the worst president. Not necessarily as bad as people think, though. He led the country in a time of political turmoil, and may not have done the best thing for it, but that's mostly a matter of opinion. So, James Buchanan had a very successful career before his presidency. He was in the military, he practiced law, he was a representative many times. Probably his most influential, or the position he had that was most influential to his career, was as a foreign ambassador to Russia and then Great Britain. This really gave him an interest with other countries and gave him a lot of... It helped him a lot with his foreign policy during his presidency later on. So yeah, he was elected mostly because he had not been involved in the Kansas-Nebraska Act. So he was an outsider who hadn't made anyone mad yet. And as far as domestic accomplishments, Buchanan's weren't all terrible. He did support the Lecompton Constitution in hopes of decreasing tensions by kind of appeasing the South, similar to Chamberlain's ideas leading up to World War II. And Dred Scott v. Sanford, widely considered the worst Supreme Court decision ever, took place during his term, and he backed it. At Fort Sumter, Buchanan did make a stand against secession by resupplying the fort, and although the supplies did not actually make it to the fort, this forced the Confederates to fire the first shot, so they basically started the war, which vastly decreased their chance of getting foreign aid, and it weakened their cause. Like, morale went down. If anyone was going to side with the South, but not sure, after this they probably didn't. Another, less related to the Civil War thing in Buchanan's term was the Mormon War, when Buchanan managed to maintain peace for Utah's request for statehood, and prevent bloodshed, which possibly prevented a more intense war like in the far west of America, which could have developed into a third front of the Civil War, one that the Confederacy might have had a decent chance of winning. So, while the big things are mostly bad, Buchanan did do some good, beneficial stuff as far as his domestic policy goes. Foreign accomplishments, he did decently, like a lot better than a lot of other people. He furthered diplomatic relations with Japan when the Tokugawa government in Japan sent an embassy to the U.S., eagerly received. This historic event marked the beginning of U.S. relations with Japan as nation to nation, like non-committed allies, kind of, instead of just one nation, the U.S., exploiting another, Japan, as it had been back in the days of Millard Fillmore and Commodore Matthew Perry and all. Buchanan actually cared about the welfare of more people than just himself, and thus it benefited Japan and the U.S. economically by better trade, and psychologically, and this was like the big thing that everyone was talking about going up to the Civil War. Buchanan also expanded U.S. influence in Central and South America, police of Western Hemisphere, possible synthesis, Roosevelt corollary later, but Buchanan's actions in the Western Hemisphere, along with other presidents of his time, kind of established precedent for Teddy Roosevelt to use later on. During this time period, possibly not affected much by him, John Brown raided Harper's Ferry, vastly increased sectional tensions. Not a good thing. Panic of 1857 was the first global crisis and continued right up until the Cold War. Also not a good thing, but it was largely due to speculation and the income gap kind of in between the rich agricultural few in the South, the poor agricultural majority in the South, the rich industrial more in the North, and the poor industrial plurality, but maybe not minority, majority in the North. Speculation, income gaps, all that. First global crisis, not a good thing. Also, during this time frame in Comstock Lode, gold and silver were found, which intensified the free soil question, v. slavery, and westward migration went up by a ton, leading to the Homestead Act of 1860, which is Lincoln's term. So, that's Buchanan. Pretty much everything you need to know.